To a world where everyone and their sister has a podcast comes another one. Join us weekly as we explore the dark back alleys of irreverence and the spider-infested corners of nerdkind. This is the Irreverent Nerd Podcast. Hello, fellow nerds. So, change of plans. I was ready to go see the Batman last night. I was excited. I was going to go with my friend with whom I see all the superhero movies. I bought the tickets like a week early so that we got half-decent seats instead of sitting right in front of the damn screen. And then a few hours before showtime, my daughter tested positive for COVID. And then I took a test myself and also tested positive for COVID. So, change of plans. I told my buddy to go ahead and see it because we'd paid for the tickets, so no sense wasting both of them. I think it was too late to refund anything at that point. So he went and saw it, really liked it, and recorded his own kind of instant reaction review. I believe it'll be... Like, my symptoms started Monday. I didn't take the test till yesterday, but I think next Thursday I'll be good to go and see it myself. So next Friday, I'm gonna record an instant reaction review of my own, and then we're gonna combine them into a single bonus episode. But for this week, what you're gonna get instead is a review of Tim Burton's Batman. Now, this is kind of half a review because I didn't finish the movie. But I wanted to release something today because I said I would, and I'd like to keep my word. And honestly, I'm not overly interested in finishing it, which I feel bad saying that. I will at some point, but, like, my time is valuable, you know what I mean? Like, I have 3 kids, I have a full-time job, and only one life, right? So, my time is valuable. Like, I want to spend it on things that I genuinely enjoy. And I kind of enjoyed that experience last night. I think I would have enjoyed it more with a friend and kind of like... It's weird, like... So, let me jump into it, okay? 1989, Batman, Tim Burton. So, I was a kid when it came out. I was 6 years old when it came out, but I was not allowed to read Batman comics at that young age, which I'm actually glad my parents didn't let me do that because it's not age appropriate for a 5-6-year-old kid. But had I been like a junior high or teenager around that time and had been into Batman comics, I can only imagine that that movie would have been amazing. Because like you get to see Batman live and on screen, and it's a semi-serious movie. I mean, people die in this movie. Like, somebody gets fried to death by the Joker. The Joker falls into a vat. People are getting shot. And someone says, shit. You know what I mean? I don't know for sure if there had been a lot of cursing in the Batman comics up to that point. Probably a little bit, I would imagine, in the 80s. That's something, honestly, that I do want to do, is go back and revisit some of the classic comics. I've read some things from the 2000s and on. Like, one of my favorite series is the Hush series. In fact, I just finished The Heart of Hush. I think I missed one in between. Like, I read the first graphic novel series of Hush I read some time ago, and then I got this one at a discounted price from like a used bookstore type place. So I read The Heart of Hush, which I guess is the... actually, I don't know if it's a climax. So, see, this is what I need to find out. I don't have an interest in trying to grab a hold of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, or I should say, the Marvel comic universe, because it's so complicated. But I have always resonated with Batman, so I do have an interest in digging into that comic book realm. I do want to be cautious as I'm doing it, because I realize that part of the reason I've resonated with the Batman character is because I have struggled so much with loneliness and isolation throughout a good portion of my life. And I think that's part of the reason why a lot of people resonate with that character. I mean, we've all felt loneliness at some point, right? And most of us have experienced pain. Some of us have experienced the loss of a parent. Now, I did not lose a parent to murder, as Batman did, but I did lose a parent to cancer at a relatively young age. I was 17 when my mother died of cancer. So I can resonate, at least on some level, with the loss of a parent and with the struggle to connect with people like you want to, and you see that in the Batman, like he wants to, and he reaches out, and yet he tends to always hold people at arm's length, even Alfred sometimes. But he wants to reach out, and he wants friends. It's just... So I've resonated with the character on a lot of levels over the years, and I do think the Batman villains tend to be some of the most fascinating. One exception being Thanos from the MCU. Like, Avengers Infinity War is hands down one of the best superhero movies. It's definitely in my top 5, hands down. And yes, that's due in no small part to how they had built the universe up to that point, and you had spent a lot of time with the individual characters, so you cared about them. But it's still like one of the best movies, even just on its own right. And Thanos is one of the most interesting villains in any superhero movie ever. But if you're going to compare universes, broadly speaking, DC has more interesting villains, particularly in the Batman universe. Not as much in the Superman universe, I have to admit. But Batman I've always resonated with. So anyway, let's jump into this quick review of Batman. Now, I have seen the whole movie, so I'm not reviewing something I haven't seen. It's been a while since I watched the whole thing. And then last night I watched basically the first half. And I recorded... I was trying to do a little bit of like commentary as it went along. One of these days I'll need to learn how to do like a audio capture while simultaneously recording like a narration, like commentary type thing. I know someone who's figured out how to do that, and I don't know how to do that yet. Someday, like, that would be fun. Like, I actually kind of enjoy that, like just my own commentary on things. But for now, you get a review. So let's go through some of the points I was thinking of last night. So I enjoyed the opening, and this is my first time watching it on a bigger screen, like a 55-inch 4K TV. I just bought the Blu-ray of this movie, so I'm seeing it, large on screen, for the first time in my life, actually. And I definitely enjoyed it, like aesthetically enjoyed it more than I did on that little laptop screen, obviously. I mean, for obvious reasons. And the film actually looks quite good in Blu-ray. Really, like a lot of live-action things that use practical effects look really good on Blu-ray, like when they're remastered. When you get into some compositing work, or certainly into any early CGI, that's where you really start to see the glaring differences. But live action, I mean, a lot of that stuff, like even Star Trek The Next Generation, when we go back and look at it, because it was recorded in, the HD video, like for that time. So the remastered Blu-ray of Star Trek TNG, which I will definitely do some Star Trek episodes as this series goes on. But for now, Batman's on my mind because the new movie just came out this week, and I'm excited. I have to postpone that excitement a little bit and wait till next week to see it. And believe me, I checked to see if it was available for in-theater rental, and it wasn't, and I was disappointed. I was briefly tempted to pirate the thing, but I'm like, nah, I don't want to deal with that, and I don't like doing things that are illegal. Don't like dealing with the trouble that could cause. Yeah, no, I'm just going to wait. Plus, I want my first experience seeing it to be in IMAX. Anyway, I'm rambling. Let's get back to the topic at hand, Batman. So, I need to learn more about the backstory of this movie. Like, I did start to get interested in learning about that, both the comic backstories to it. So I was familiar a little bit, like even before I saw it the first time, I was familiar somewhat with the Jack Napier storyline because of Batman Mask of the Phantasm. Like, I actually saw that movie before I saw Tim Burton's Batman. Frankly, hands down, Mask of the Phantasm is a better film. I will have to say it's a better film. However, we would not have gotten Mask of the Phantasm or Batman the Animated Series had it not been for Tim Burton's Batman. So the Batman universe as a whole owes a lot to Tim Burton and what he accomplished with Batman. So, like, aesthetically, like, I really enjoyed the set design. I enjoyed kind of it was a weird amalgam of, like, you have these 80s, like, some 80s technology and 80s, like, whether it be cars or televisions or things like that. but then the clothes that people were wearing evoked more of the 40s, like 40s gangster New York kind of vibes, and the landscape of Gotham itself had a more gothic, like kind of Art Deco feel, which definitely Batman the Animated Series was influenced by and borrowed from heavily. And obviously they even took the theme, Danny Elfman's theme. Now he rearranged it a little bit for the animated series. And frankly, I like the animated series one better. Some of that's nostalgia, but Danny Elfman is a really cool composer. I do like his Spider-Man soundtrack better than his soundtrack for Batman, broadly speaking. But the opening theme is hard to beat. And, obviously it evokes memories of Batman the Animated Series for me. Anyway, so we have our different character intros. So the first time I saw this, like, it was hard not to chuckle a bit at the intro for the Batman. Because, like, it's trying to be all mysterious. And, like, he Michael Keaton keeps raising his arms to try to look like a bat. But it just comes off, frankly, very stiff. And obviously not frightening. Yeah, it's too slow for one. Like, the action is too slow. I don't think Tim Burton is particularly good, at least from what I saw in that movie. He's not very good at editing action scenes or fight scenes. I don't think he had any background in that before that point, so I'm not saying he should have been necessarily, but compared to, like, Christopher Nolan stuff, his work there, like, now, granted, 80s action movies, well, no, I should take that back. There are better ones, obviously. Predator, one that immediately comes to mind, much better action movie than this. So the action scene's not that great. But I like some of the aesthetics. Like, obviously, like, seeing, like, it's not the first time we'd seen, like, the Batarang or the Bat Rope or things like that. You had seen that in the 1960s TV series. But there were some updates to it. Some of, like, the gas pellets and things like that. I don't remember if that was in the 60s TV series. It probably was. Obviously, the Batmobile looks great. I think I had a toy of that 1989 Batmobile. I currently now have a toy model, more recently made, but a toy model of the Batman the Animated Series Batmobile, which I keep on my desk at work because I'm a nerd. So sue me. Anyway. But yeah, like, I love the aesthetics of it, and it evokes so many memories of the animated series, which obviously, as I said, borrowed heavily from it. And there's a certain charm, like, it's like it doesn't take itself too seriously, and yet it is certainly much darker than the 60s TV series. I mean, obviously. But there's a little bit of irreverent humor in there as well, which I kind of appreciate. And that's Tim Burton has... I mean, Tim Burton is Tim Burton. Like, his tone is unique, I have to say. And some of his films, like, it really works. So, like, I enjoyed the aesthetics. I enjoyed the production design. Danny Elfman's music, for the most part, except for a couple of scenes. Like, the initial reveal scene of Batman, the music was not that great. The whole scene was not that great, to be honest with you. Like I said, if you were a kid who grew up with the comics at that time and you saw that for the first time, it was probably really cool. But I've been spoiled, obviously, since then, so now it's, like, underwhelming at best. And it's not just about the way the scenes were cut and stuff. Now, some of the problem might have been the costume. I don't know backstory on this. It may have been, I can guess that Michael Keaton's costume was probably really stiff and hard to work in, so he may have done the best with what he had. But I kind of doubt it, because, frankly, his performance as Bruce Wayne is equally stiff. And even though I did only view half the movie the second time around, my impressions of his performance were the same as they were the first time I watched it. And I came in trying to come in with open eyes and trying to come in with a fresh perspective and be like, give it the benefit of the doubt again. And it still didn't work for me. I'm sorry. Like, he doesn't even compare to Kevin Conroy. I mean, I'm sorry, Michael Keaton. Like, you're just boring. I'm sorry. Like, I'm sure some people get mad at me, probably some who were teenagers when this came out, and it's nostalgic for you. So, but, like, objectively, it's just a boring performance. Like, he shows so little range. Keaton is great in some other roles. Like, I've heard he's great in Beetlejuice. I haven't seen that yet. One of these days I need to see that. I loved him in The Founder, a more recent film. He did great as a villain in the Spider-Man movie, a more recent Spider-Man movie. I've heard he's awesome in Birdman. Haven't seen that yet, but, like, certain roles, like, he's really well suited for. And obviously he's a better actor now, I think it's fair to say, than he was. Oddly enough, he's the same age, roughly, that I am when he made Batman, which is interesting. I'm like, dude, I think I could have done a better job. I hate saying that, but it's just so fucking stiff. I'm sorry. Like, no emotion comes through. Like, it doesn't strike me as genuine at all. Like, the chemistry, or I should say lack thereof, between him and Vicky Vale, you know, like his Bruce Wayne and Vicky Vale's character is just, on his part, just not there. And I get that Bruce Wayne's supposed to be a little distant and guarded and all that, but it just doesn't work. And you combine that with him being kind of stiff as the Batman, and the cinematography in the fight scenes is not that great. I'm not saying 80s action movies are like have the greatest cinematography in general, but I've seen some that are better than this. So that the Batman scenes were frankly disappointing, and I still remember the first time I saw it. Like I saw a shot and I saw that he had like Reebok, like black Reeboks on. He didn't have actual boots on. He had like shin guards and black Reeboks. I was like, oh, come on, man. You could at least had him wear boots. Come on. You know, black Reeboks. You know, that's what it looked like anyway. So some things disappointing. Like the two things I think that are frankly most important to the success of the film, the performance of Michael Keaton, both as Bruce Wayne and Batman, obviously. So Michael Keaton's performance and Jack Nicholson's were integral to the movie. I mean, obviously, like if those don't work, then the movie falls apart, which for me, at the end of the day, it does, primarily because of those two performances. Like Jack Nicholson, now I don't know what it would have been like to have been reading Joker in the comics, and your only live action experience with Joker up to that point was Cesar Romero, and then you see Jack Nicholson on the scene, who's like definitely more menacing than Cesar Romero. I mean, but obviously that's part of the tone that Burton was going for as well. Like, but Jack's brand of crazy just doesn't quite work for the Joker. And it's really, like, admittedly, it's tough to pull that off live action. Heath Ledger obviously nailed it. The best live action Joker, hands down, by far, blew everybody else out of the water, Jack Nicholson included. You know. And I can't say for sure how well Mark Hamill's performance would have translated had he been live action. I don't know for sure. It wouldn't have worked as well, I don't think. But just comparing, like, say if Jack Nicholson had done the voice of the Joker for Batman the Animated Series compared to Mark Hamill would win. I'm sorry. Yeah. Like, he can do more with his voice, for one. And, yeah, just the man has more range, broadly speaking. But I will say this, like, Jack Nicholson's performance was a little bit better than I remembered it. Like I kind of saw what he was going for, but it still just doesn't quite work for me. And at the end of the day, if Batman and the Joker, if their performances don't work, then the movie doesn't work. Doesn't mean I don't enjoy anything about it, because I love Batman. I love the Batman universe. But yeah, like it's not gonna rank. Like, I'm pretty confident that after I see The Batman next week, that it's gonna be in my top 3. It's gonna immediately be in my top 3. Obviously, like The Dark Knight. Right now, I'd say my top 3 would be, and not necessarily in any, this is not a hierarchical order necessarily, but it'd be Batman Begins, The Dark Knight, and Batman Mask of the Phantasm. Like, I'm not entirely sure whether to include some of the direct-to-video DC releases in that ranking. I think I'll stick to theatrical release movies, which Phantasm was as such. So those are my top 3 Batman movies up to this point. But I'm pretty sure that The Batman, I'm pretty confident it's going to knock one of those out of there. Probably Batman Begins. But I'm not sure. I do need to revisit Mask of the Phantasm. I haven't watched that in a while. But, very strong memories of it. Anyway, I'm coming up on 20 minutes here. So, after watching half the movie and, frankly, not being interested enough to finish it, Now, last night I was too tired, but like I could have finished it tonight, and I was just like, I'm just not interested enough. Like, not right now. Like, as I'm prepping for the Batman, like honestly, I want to review things that are more serious contenders, and this is not it. I kind of knew that going in. I was trying to look at it maybe a little bit more fun, and I was trying to give it a second chance, and it still doesn't work for me. I'm sorry, Tim Burton fans. It just doesn't work for me, and Batman Returns is worse, frankly. I might change my mind, in terms of the ranking of those two after I see it again, but my first impressions of it, again, no. There's some of it that works. Like, really, more than anything, the production design works for me. I like it, but the cinematography and the acting, which obviously is a big part of the movie, not so much. So that's my kind of off-the-cuff review of Tim Burton's Batman. Like I said, this replaces what I would have released today, which would have been an instant reactions review of the Batman. But we're going to save that for next Friday after I get to see it, and we'll combine. I'll edit together both my review and my friend's review that he did last night for me, and we'll hopefully couple together a good episode for you guys. This was going to be Wednesday's episode, so I need to come up with a different topic. So it'll either be a review of The Dark Knight, which I do hope to find time to watch before the Batman. So either be a review of that, or it'll be some other Batman-related topic. And I think after next Friday, I'm probably going to take a break from Batman for a little bit and move on to other nerdy topics. And this podcast could go anywhere. I mean, like, it's called The Irreverent Nerd. It's not called The Irreverent Comic Book Fan. It's like, I'm finding that I'm really enjoying talking about all of this. Frankly, I enjoy this kind of stuff. So, but it doesn't have to be every episode. Like, I'd have an episode about NASA or SpaceX or, like, obviously there's going to be some Star Trek and some Star Wars in there at some point. But yeah, we could have like a hardcore science episode as well. We're like nerd out about, I don't know, evolutionary psychology or, string theory or something like that. That would be fun too, because, I mean, if you're like me and you're into sci-fi and into science in general and stuff like that, you enjoy learning about things like that. But I got to find out a way to make it fun as well, One of the first people to ever make science fun for me, and I'm sure this may be true for many of you who are around the same age as me, and that is Bill Nye. Bill Nye the Science Guy. Bill. Yes. Love that guy. I need to finish watching his Netflix series whenever I get Netflix again, which probably won't be until Stranger Things Season 4 releases. I think first part of it releases in May. I think May 27th, I heard. Excited about that. I'm kind of getting into this thing of like when a series I'm genuinely interested in releases on a streaming service, then I'll like cancel my other streaming service and then sign up for that one for a month so then I can watch that series, and then I'll cancel that and then move on to the next one when, like for instance, when Westworld Season 4 releases on HBO Max, I'm definitely going to be signing back up for HBO Max because that series is engrossing and fascinating, and I want to continue on in it. Anyway, I'm kind of going long, so I'm going to finish up here. Thanks for joining me, my fellow nerds, on this bonus episode review of Tim Burton's Batman. And I will, or I should say, you'll be hearing me again soon. Thank you for joining us for this week's episode. You can follow us on Instagram at irreverent_nerd. That is at irreverent_nerd. We also have a YouTube channel, appropriately titled Irreverent Nerd. If you'd like to leave a voice message to be included on a future episode, go to anchor.fm/irreverentnerd/message and drop us a line. Until next time, our fellow nerds, make it so. May the Force be with you. Avengers assemble! I'm Batman.